I would
This is
argue
what
that
it's
AI
for.
is
It's
for
okay.
replacing human creativity.
Okay,
But
and that's an
I
interesting
mean, I guess we're,
argument. I'll hear you
yeah.
out.
Well, I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to have the AI write it for me.
Okay, fair.
My, Joel, we all know Joel.
Oh, Joel.
Um, he was saying this week, that AI, he was reading, he had told us about an article that he had read, and it said AI is not about learning, it's about avoiding learning.
Whoa.
Like AI is, a student uses AI to help them write an assignment. They're not using it to learn about the subject, they're using it to avoid learning about the subject. Someone uses
Hmm.
AI to, generate an image. They're not using AI to help them learn how to be artistic. They're using it to avoid being artistic and creative.
Hmm. Interesting.
Anyway, if anyone has ever doubted that Joel only has correct opinions, there's more proof.
Erase that doubt from your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's like it's just
Mhm.
always the same thing where we're like, "Hey, we came up with this thing that can be a really valuable tool in like specific circumstances. What if we make it a necessary tool in every circumstance and we eliminate all other possibilities and to the point that like people are losing their jobs
Mhm.
and then being replaced by like bots that can't even do their job correctly,
It's like
you
putting
know?
Wi-Fi in a fridge.
Yeah,
Why does that
why?
need to happen?
I want fridge to be have cool temperature
Yep.
and I can put my stuff in it to keep it cool. That's what my
I don't
fridge is
want it
for. I don't need
to
to tweet
be.
from my fridge.
What if someone hacks into your fridge?
I
What then?
know. I can't open it. They lock all my food inside and I can't open it because they hacked my account. They changed my Wi-Fi password and I can't even
From
send a
your
tweet for help.
fridge. Anyway,
Anyway, so I'm
technological
good.
advancement
You're good.
is, it's similar to the topic that we're going to be talking about today.
In that sometimes things can be good and but other times things can be exploited to the point that they're no longer good and actually like maybe harmful to your community, you know.
Maybe things that are new are worse. Type
Sometimes
B.
things that are expensive are worse, sometimes things that are new are worse. Sometimes innovation is code for layoff.
And sometimes things that are new are better.
Hmm.
Today is going to be about learning the difference from two doctors that you can trust.
You know, we've had the topic for today picked out for a week. And have we chosen any
Mhm.
letters? No.
I picked
No,
one.
thank you. Ooh,
It's
is it
easy though.
monsters?
It's monsters, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't I mean, it's not something to be proud of, but it is there.
Scream technology.
Oh, I was also Sully or Mike.
Okay, that's true.
Um
But
Scream technology is
scream
good.
technology because they go together, but they're also
Yep.
two of the letters.
Uh-huh.
E.
And see, when I was watching the movie this afternoon, I thought eek for screaming. But that
But
doesn't,
then
I mean, we've
that's
used that for
exactly the same as our Jurassic Park title
as
if we do
Jurassic Park.
that. Yeah.
Eek monsters. Yes, we can't do that again. We're creative and
Oh,
brave.
hey, I just got your text from 11 minutes ago that says you're ready when I am. Yay.
Yeah. The funny thing about that is I was ready, but then it took me like 11 minutes to set up my little apparatus here.
So we ended up
So,
still being ready at the same time.
yeah.
Nice. Okay, scream technology.
What's
The
another
thing is,
word?
like,
Hmm.
there's no other, like, there's no characters who start with an E.
No. Enemy,
Mm? There's some
colon,
enemies in here.
Randall, capitalism. Two options. Neither of those
Uh-huh.
start with
Mr. Waternoose,
Mr. Waternoose.
mainly, because he's the representation of capitalism, really, in
He
this
is.
movie.
Yes.
He's the Mr. Monopoly of the monster world.
Yeah. Um,
Um,
and
scream technology.
Scream technology. And then M could
Oh,
be
and then
Mike
just
and Sully.
enemy, it could just be enemy monsters because they're in conflicting
Oh,
ideologies,
that
the
could
enemy
work.
monsters. It's just two groups
Sure.
of things.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I feel, and I like that, but it's been rattling around in my head, and is there a word for funny that starts with E, because there's a little niggling in my brain that's telling me that there's something
Oh.
there.
Like it means funny?
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I can't think of it. I think it's yellow.
Yeah. Nothing's coming up on google.com.
Okay. Let down once again by google.com. Well, then let's not worry about it. I like it's right on the tip of my tongue, but the only word that ever comes to mind when we think about E is effervescent.
Yeah, always. Every single
Every
week.
single time.
It's a curse until we talk about Twilight. It's just inevitable that we have to do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of a rite
Um,
of
I,
passage for a lot of, like, everybody on YouTube has a video about Twilight, you know?
you have to. You have
You
to.
kind of
I
just have
don't
to.
think Drew Gooden does,
No, and he's
but
doing okay without it. So maybe
he's
we
all
can
right.
avoid
But
it
he did
forever. But
start
also,
YouTube, so
yeah, he
I,
invented it. So it might just be like, if you're not Drew Gooden, the inventor of YouTube, you do have to make a video about Twilight.
yeah,
Yeah, and it might
yeah.
just be that maybe he has like something else in his life that's effervescent enough that he just like doesn't even think about Twilight. Like he's not aware of it.
Amanda.
Yeah.
Aw.
Funny that started with an E. I
Hold
also
on. I
love
am
that
gonna
implication that like he hasn't made a video about Twilight just because he's happily married. And like everybody else who has, it's like, okay, somebody's clearly single.
we
Um,
have our letters picked
yeah,
out.
so welcome to Women in STEM. You may have
I
guessed from the conversation about what the letters stand for that we're talking about Monsters Inc.
I actually think this is one
Yay!
of the fastest introductions we've had in a while, too.
Yeah, only 17 minutes.
That's not bad. Yeah, I was gonna say about 20. That we're
Yeah.
on top of things
Yeah.
today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Mm, thanks for having me.
Of course.
So Monsters Inc., we've all seen it.
Obviously.
And
If you haven't,
sometimes we say
remedy that.
that like jokingly, but like
Yeah.
we've all seen this. I mean, it's one of the classic like Pixar films that a lot of us grew up on and have fond memories of because it's
And for
good.
good reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not one of those that you're nostalgic for, but you watch it as an adult and you're like,
Like,
kind of
it
stupid.
was cute for kids, I guess. Like, it holds
Yeah.
up.
To this day, there are times when if I'm in a mood, it still makes me cry.
Hmm.
That's a powerful movie.
Yeah. I had one of those times just recently when I was just sitting down like doing some homework or something, and then I was like,
You know, at the end of Monsters Inc., when Mike has his surprise for Sully and he like shows his hands and they're all like discolored and raw because he's obviously been working countless hours to recreate this thing that means a lot to his best friend. That's so interesting. That's just something I'm thinking about today right now instead of writing my paper.
he he built the door. He's just one little guy. Like I was
He's a
like,
little round man. His hands are all bandaged and
yeah, like
covered in
his
paint and
head is
scratches.
like, tell me what love is, and it's not that. Like, are you kidding me? It's,
And like the
uh,
fact that he knew Sully kept the last piece on his clipboard and
mhm.
like it was the
It only
start of
works
their
if it has
day.
every piece.
Every
And he's like,
piece.
ugh. Yeah, just like the level of attention to Sully, what matters to him, he's like grieving over the loss of this relationship that had changed his whole life. And he just has this little memento and he thinks that that's all he's ever going to have, right? And to be able to like pay, not only like know that that happened, but decide to change it and like go out of your way to find all the pieces to a whole door
There's a lot
and
of
put
wood
it
to
back
go through.
together. There's a lot of wood to go through. But not a
Shut up.
complaint, just a comment. It was a lot of wood to go through, but like,
Rotten work,
not to
not to
me,
me,
not
not
if
if
it's
it's
you.
you. Yes. Literally, shut up. It's a lot of wood to go through. Mike. And the best thing about it is throughout the movie, Mike is just, I mean, he's a famously selfish creature. He's
Yeah.
self-centered. He's kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like full of himself.
Yeah.
He's just a round little guy. He's got a big head. And, the fact that he has a moment of vulnerability right near the end where he's like, I care about people. I care about these things. I'm frustrated that it seems like you're not listening to me. And then to have his final act in the movie to say, through apparently months of
Mhm.
going through wood trying to find every piece, just meticulously fitting it all back together for his friend, like purely selfless.
Mhm.
Mike, I mean, it says so much, like the action in itself, but also the person doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's nice that they have that kind of like grounded, like emotional moment for the kind of like comic relief character, you know? Like he's supposed
Yeah.
to be like the best friend and he's kind of goofy and he takes himself way too seriously and whatever. Like he has a lot of funny moments. Like
Hmm.
that's his thing. Like they're the ones that discover laughs because
Yeah.
he's a comedian, right?
Yeah.
Like that's his thing. And so it's nice that like they still have these layers where like Sully seems like the big like macho guy and he's all in charge of his life, but really like Mike is his manager and he like wouldn't do any of this stuff without him.
Yes.
And they really play with each other and you have that like just really sincere, heartfelt moment from the comic relief like sidekick character, you know?
Yeah.
That's just nice.
It's similar to, and I don't know, I don't remember any of their names, but in Godzilla -1,
Hmm.
when the boat captain has that moment kind of near the end where he grabs the main character and is genuinely livid
Yeah.
for just a moment. He's still funny, he still jokes, he's still sarcastic throughout the rest of the movie, but for just that one moment, it is so serious. He is so angry. And I mean, it makes him feel like you're exactly right. It feels so grounding. It's okay, it's a real character. That's a real
Yeah.
person. And it's the same for Mike. Throughout all of it, you can tell he's, you know, goofy and silly. He is a comedian and he talks about Celia and the record and all of these things that seem superficial kind of, but then he loves his girlfriend and he
Yeah.
loves his job and he wants so badly to do well, not for, maybe a little bit for notoriety, but also because he's just passionate about it. These are things that he cares about.
Hmm.
um I mean, it makes the moments where he's being funny feel very rich because they're coming from not a two-dimensional thing. That's a person and he cares about things.
Yeah.
His
Period.
relationship with Celia is adorable, by the way.
It's so good. Although
They
he's just like so smitten with her.
Yeah, and she's smitten with him.
Yeah.
They have like a little bit of conflict where she thinks that he's just ditched her, I think, to be with Sully,
Yeah.
and she's rightfully pissed about it. They do live together. The
Yeah.
and
This is my
but
boyfriend Mike and this is his boyfriend Sully. Is
yes,
kind of the vibe.
and this is Sully's daughter, a human
Yeah.
child. People have already started running, but um, I mean, she's understandably very angry for just a split second, and she's convinced that he's lying
Yeah.
because the truth is outrageous and makes no sense. But it takes one tiny little confirmation of, oh, Randall's chasing after them. Okay, I'm all in on this. I'm gonna do
Yeah.
whatever I can to help them. She's immediately back on his side 100%. They just have they're all over each other. They love each other so much. They clearly have a strong foundation of trust and
Hmm.
they're
And that's why
good.
it hurts so much when there is the misunderstanding because you're like, I thought I could trust you, but then later the redemption of like, oh, that was my bad actually. Like I should have
Yeah,
been more like trusting. And I love like
yeah.
when they're at the restaurant and he's like, someone asked me who I thought was the most beautiful girl in all the world. You know what I said? Sully?
Sully.
It's just like, why would you say, did you forget who you're out with right now?
On her birthday.
Sully.
Sully. But then I remembered I was dating you, and then I said that instead.
And then I said, I mean, so I have a stutter. Cecilia is what I meant. What? Yeah.
And then he bounds into the restaurant and like steals him away. They're hiding behind the menu on her birthday dinner. That is so funny. And
Yeah.
he just leaves.
He just leaves. Well, Sully's in there with like a body bag. And then they're like, oh, she got out. Like, everything, this movie is so goofy. Like, it's so entertaining. You can see why everybody loved it growing up and why you still rewatch it and you're like, okay, that's funny.
Yeah.
Like, I
wrote down, I
It's
started writing down
entertaining.
quotes that I like that made me chuckle out loud. And then I realized it was just everything Billy Crystal was saying.
Yes.
So I
That's
put
his
in parentheses
signature
Mike
thing.
lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of these days, I'm really gonna let you teach that guy a lesson. Or even the moment before that when Sully's like, I put the reservation under Googly Bear. And Mike's like, that wasn't very funny.
It's like, hey, thanks.
So
That's so thoughtful. I mean, you're making fun of me.
it's such a real friend interaction.
Yeah.
We've had that conversation like 1,000 times. Like, actually, screw you for that.
Yeah, like, oh. Yeah. So good. There's a line that my family quotes constantly, right? When
Wait, can I guess what it is?
Sure.
Painted?
Yes. It's a good
Yeah.
guess. It's
Go
just so good. Like, and they're like, and the scare floor will be, and he's like, it's like, you know, when you're in class and the teacher is like so clearly looking for an answer, and it's like, why don't you just tell me? Because we clearly aren't we're not picking up what you're putting down. And they're
Yeah.
like, the scare floor will be, and you're like, I don't know, painted? And they're
Painted.
like, empty. Like, why are you so stupid? And like, it's so good. So we just use that like, yeah, all the time. If you can't think of a word, or if someone is clearly trying to lead you to an answer that you don't understand, or when something is actually being painted. I mean, there's a lot of ways that you can use it, and you just go,
Very versatile.
painted?
Painted?
I don't know.
They kind of do that at the beginning too with Phlegm Bile. You know, Mr. Bile, my friends call me Phlegm. Hysterical, by the way. And then to have the main character be introduced as James P. Sullivan.
Yeah.
You think, oh, all the monsters are gonna have really gross names, and then the main characters are Mike and
James.
Sully.
Yeah, just like
that's
Celia is the girlfriend, Roz, like these are all real actual names.
Except for Phlegm.
It's just
what?
Phlegm Bile.
That's
Please.
hysterical.
My friends call me Phlegm.
Phlegm.
I love like moments like that you just know that people creating this were like, oh, that's gonna be so funny. You know?
Yes.
It's like the Pope-mobile in Cars. Like, I know people are like, oh, this implies that the cars are Catholic. Not necessarily. They just were like, that's a funny design. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the Pope-mobile with no Pope? Or is he the Pope? Who cares? You know, they were having a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how it is with most of this movie. Like the fact that the main conflict starts off because Mike forgot to do his paperwork. You know
That's
that someone in
joke.
there that
that's
absolutely
a grown-up joke.
That's hysterical. Every single thing about this movie is so funny and well thought out. And like
it's a totally believable thing. Like these two friends who work together, and he's like, it's my girlfriend's birthday, like I'm gonna head out early, can you please just like file this for me? And he's like, I don't know how to do that, but sure, you know, like that could happen in any other movie and you'd totally believe it. Like it's funny that it's this one, like this movie that's for children but also about like corporate greed. You know what I mean?
Corporate greed and familial love. Oh, that's Puce. Why do we even keep making movies? Like, I mean,
anytime you think like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if there was a movie that was like this? Like, maybe. But first, watch Monsters, Inc. and think, is the movie that I'm thinking of going to be as good as this? And if the answer is no, Just set that
Yeah.
to the side.
I think there's a lot to be said because I think with a little reworking, Monsters Inc. could work in any other setting, but it works best because they are monsters, right? But it's funny because it's flipping a typical monster story on its head. And the same thing with Megamind, right? It's flipping a typical superhero, supervillain story on its head. If you're thinking of either of those two movies and they don't measure up, if the idea that you have is like, well, it's kind of, I mean, like, what I'm trying to say is those two movies have covered every trope and every perfect joke ever created from the start of human storytelling. The Epic of Gilgamesh was written down because they were like, man, do you think someday someone's gonna make a movie and they're gonna start off with Mr. Bile, my friends call me phlegm joke? You think that's gonna happen? I'm gonna write down a kid knew does. You know, like they had the
Yeah, I think
foresight.
this is the peak of here's all of human history and human storytelling, and there's a lot of really great. There's some greats, there's some good moments, and then here's the peak, Monsters Inc.
Yes.
And then here's Megamind, just right next to it, and then everything else is like a, you know,
Yeah.
you're not gonna recreate this moment.
No, they do. They don't measure up, and that's okay. You know.
They don't have to, but
No, just know your
it's something
place.
to think about. You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I like I said, I watched this movie this afternoon. I didn't need to, but I it's another one of those, oh, twist my arm. Better refresh.
Yeah. And then you sit down and watch it and you know what they're gonna say before they say it because you still have the movie memorized from when you were 4 and you're like, oh, didn't need to watch it, but it's good.
Yeah. Even the introduction with the doors and the kind of jazzy
It's so good, dude.
No one's doing it like her. That's, I mean, I love a good introduction title sequence when it's short and entertaining in itself. Sometimes they go on maybe a little bit too long. This one's perfect. It's punchy. It's less than 5 minutes. It kind of tells you the vibe of.
And it's just like a super fun little jazz song, you know, like it's not like
Yeah.
this is the moment that I always complain about is like when you're watching like a early 2000s or even like late 90s like chick flick and it's just like a guy gets on a bus and you have to watch him on the bus for 7 minutes and they're playing like some song that's never gonna be brought up again in the whole like it has nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah.
What if it was Randy Newman jazz instead? Wouldn't that be better? Just a thought.
Sometimes things that are Randy Newman are better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've always said that, really.
That's true. We all should be saying that all the time. I've written down a couple of things and I'm gonna shout them out and then we can take them on as we need to. I'm gonna let you teach that guy a lesson. We've talked about that.
Very funny.
It tackles the mystery of the mysterious back room, which for like a kid and as an adult, that's the most tantalizing thing in the world. If I see there's a back room that leads somewhere, I so badly want to go into that room because in my head, what I picture is the back room in Monsters Inc. with all of the doors, millions of doors just being sorted and moving, and
it's so awesome. And it's like such a much bigger conglomerate than you ever would have imagined. And it's like
they've got every door
like,
and every closet.
God. They're just playing God in their back room. Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, you wouldn't have even thought of it until they showed it. But it like, yeah, they've got every closet door in the world for every kid. They've gotta have all these doors.
Of course,
it makes sense, but you don't think about it.
If every kid is afraid of monsters in the closet, then every closet door
must be there. So they've got to find a way to sort them. And I mean, it's astounding. I think this shot where they come in on the slidey thing and they're both like, they don't even know how expansive this is. And that's every time I go into TJ Maxx and they don't like, I see an employee come out of the back room, I kind of take a peek. I'm like, oh, they have their doors and they're like, to this day, I think of that. Capitalism, the concept of odorant is hysterical to me.
Oh my God.
That's so funny. Do you have low tide? How about wet dog?
Yeah.
Shut up. That's good.
Yeah.
Roz, Ms. Wazowski, your stunned silence is very reassuring.
Yeah.
Your stunned silence is very reassuring. How was Roz the funniest character in this movie when Billy Crystal is in it?
I know. Yeah.
I don't
She's
know. She
hilarious.
did
That's
it.
why they had to limit her screen time. They're like, she's gonna be the star of the show.
Yeah,
Nobody's gonna care about finding Boo if she's on screen for more than 5
But what's
minutes.
Roz up to? That was the quote that my family, I mean, was consistent throughout growing up. I'm watching you, always watching you. I mean, that
Oh
one's
yeah, yeah.
it's a popular one,
That's everyone.
but
Everyone knows that one. Yeah.
everyone knows that line to the point where it's almost overdone. But then you watch it, and
You're like, no,
you
it's
don't
still good.
it's yeah, in context, that's pretty like
Yeah.
yeah, all right. The whole concept of the CDA,
This office
like
is now closed. Right on his fingies. I love
Mike,
her. She's so
she's so
funny.
iconic. You've had a lift, you've had a tuck, you've had something injected into your
Yes.
skin that is making you and she like
Listen.
nothing.
Yeah.
She's
New
a
haircut,
brick
new
wall.
makeup. Yeah. So good.
It's
Roz, my tender
hysterical.
oozing blossom, you're looking fabulous this morning. Is that a new haircut? I mean, Mike.
Oh my gosh. So funny.
I love the phrase tender oozing blossom because it's like gross.
Yeah.
Like, why would you say that?
Yeah. Because half of what he says is like, maybe that's normal for in this world, but maybe that's also just Mike saying weird things. You don't
Yeah.
know, and you
can
don't
never be
need to
too
know.
sure.
No, because that's Billy Crystal, and he's doing his job. He's doing it well. Yeah, he's a little freak. I love him. It's the perfect subversion of expectations, which Pixar has always been really good at. It's what about a monster? What about the story of the monsters in the closet? But it's actually like a huge corporation. There's a scream shortage. And what if the monsters are all actually scared of the kids in their closet? That
It's
is
so good.
it's
There's
brilliant
so
because
many
it's so
layers to that.
simple.
It's not just like, what about the monsters in the closet? But it's like, what's their individual psychology? What's their like social environment? Like, why do they have to go into the closet?
Yes.
You
I
know?
mean, they asked the questions and gave really satisfying answers. There's a scream shortage. They think this
Yeah.
is the only thing they know, like, that they can do is to, scare kids. And then you have at the end the realization of, oh, we don't actually have to be doing it this way. We
At
could be
least we
doing it
had
this
some
way.
laughs, right?
At least we had some freaking laughs.
Good old Mike.
Fantastic. The CDA, I think, is a hysterical concept in itself. The line spoons. Takes
Using mainly spoons, we will dig a tunnel under the city and release it into the wild.
To the wild.
Spoons. Ah, so good.
John Goodman, that is the peak of his acting career. Is that single line. Everything else he's ever done
is good because he's
really
John
good.
Goodman, but like,
yes,
none of it is spoons.
It's spoons, and then immediately under it is his role as the AC college president in Community. But I mean, it's close, but spoons has it beat.
I like him in, isn't he in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?
Yeah, he is. He's the Cyclops.
Too. He's the Cyclops.
He's really good. Yeah.
Here's the thing, we like John Goodman, but
we've always said that.
Name one thing funnier than spoons.
Crickets. Nothing. He ate and left not a crumb. We love him for that. John Goodman. I mean,
please, you're welcome anytime. Come on the show. We'd love to have you. Please. I always think it would be so funny, like, because we're just like, it's just like a small thing amongst friends, and sometimes we'll have a special guest that's like just one of our friends or like a parent,
my dad,
or whatever. Yeah. I do think it would be so funny one time to like actually just have like a famous person and just like never bring it up, and then all the rest of our collabs are just like my mom,
That would be so funny. So
really
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. That will be good. One day we'll get like it'll happen one day. We can't be too popular when it happens either, because
no, because it's funnier if it's like
if we're
channel with 50 subscribers is like friends with Keanu Reeves. Like, how'd that happen? And we're like,
Keanu Reeves. Oh, is he an actor? Oh, no, he's just,
Oh.
yeah.
Is he any good? I haven't. I gotta watch some of your stuff, man.
That's so cool. You're in some commercials? Wow. Yeah.
Whoa, my dad is too. That's crazy. Do you know each other?
That's actually how you know him. Keanu Reeves is
That
he's
actually
one of your dad's
might be
acting
true.
buddies.
That might be true.
Yeah.
It's
I
hard
don't
to
tell you this
know,
often
like,
enough, but Richard's one of the coolest people.
he's so funny. It's hard to know, like, if he's talking about an actor because he knows them personally or just because they're, just kind of in the business together. But like Kenneth
Hmm.
Branagh, he'll be like, "Oh, Ken, whatever." Like, he calls every actor by their first name or their nickname as if they know each other. So you
Does
can never
does
be sure because sometimes he actually does know them. For example, we were watching How to Train Your Dragon. We got it for Christmas and we were watching it downstairs in the basement and we got to like the very end, roll credits, and my dad
phenomenal
comes
film.
down and says, "America Ferrera, I know her," and kept walking. Like, okay. So you just never know, is what I'm saying.
That's the thing, is because people don't understand that Shakespeare he didn't start out as highbrow like a highbrow literature. It was for the people, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think if he were to, travel to the future, he'd see all these Shakespearean productions and be like, yeah, okay. But he'd see something like 10 Things I Hate About You and David Tennant and
Mm-hmm.
Catherine Tate doing Much Ado About Nothing, and he'd say, they're the only ones who get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if Jane Austen came to this time and saw Raquel from Barbie Life in the Dream House, it's the same
Yeah, it's the same
situation.
kind
It's
of
like,
thing. Yeah.
yeah. He's like,
Where
they're
it's
they're
like
the
it's
only
for the
ones who
people, and
understand me.
that doesn't mean that it's like low quality. It's
Hmm.
just like maybe, I don't know, maybe you don't think very highly of your fellow man if you're like, oh, it's just like lowbrow, whatever, like it's just meant for everybody. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of what makes it so like long lasting. Like not to be this guy, but consider Hamlet, where it's like the saddest story you've ever read in your life, right? And it's like renowned the world over as like the greatest play that's ever written, the greatest tragedy that's ever been written, right? And it's just about like grief driving somebody to badness. And it was written for people because that's, that's an important story that a lot of people can understand or relate to in some way. And there's a lot of like intricacy, like, was he right? Was he wrong? Was he mad? Was he sane? Like, whatever. There's a lot of conversation about it because it was written for people to enjoy and think about.
Yeah.
It's not like, it's like, we're talking about Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
It's been 45 minutes and we're saying like thing after thing and really dissecting it. You don't have to in order to enjoy it, but there is
No.
substance there. And it doesn't matter that it's like an animated movie or that it's for kids or that it came out a few years ago, you know? It's a
Yeah.
movie for the
It's
people, and that's why it holds up and it's funny and it's interesting and there's something to talk about.
and created by people who care so deeply about it
Hmm.
that they're able to add meaning into things that people might not always pick up on. And I think there's a balance to be struck between like death of the author and author's intentions. But I think there's something that someone wrote about Hamlet too, is that everybody's version of Hamlet is different, right?
Hmm.
That idea that I interpret this thing differently because I'm inherently a different person than you are. And so I've had different life experiences. I'm going to focus more on this aspect of it than this.
Hmm.
And this
Hmm.
means more to me. It's like you create the meaning as you consume the thing. And that's beautiful that like we're able to do that and given the freedom to do that. And the thing can be remade in 1,000 different images every time you watch it too. There's
Hmm.
power in storytelling. Not to be dramatic, but I have literally always said that. Like, what else do you want from me?
Yeah.
Monsters Inc. equals Hamlet. Send tweet. Moving on.
Every probably every other video that we make, we're like, okay, but how is this Hamlet? Like it always comes
Or
back to that.
how is this
But it's
better
like,
than Hamlet?
listen, when was the last time you read or watched Hamlet, and why are we right? Like,
Yeah, this is why we decided to do this, is because we're willing to make these statements that no one else is willing to make.
It's true. And
We're
also, my
brave.
spiritual gift is relating any piece of media to Hamlet.
Mm-hmm.
It's my
Yeah.
calling. It's like, do you want me to die? I have to do this.
Anyway,
Do you want to
Monsters
keep
Inc.
going through your list of things?
I do, yeah. Yeah.
Yay!
Just
Me
a
too.
Tish sidetracked there. Okay, good. Um, I like the For the Good of the Company because um
Mhm. Because companies
um
are people too, and they have real feelings.
that's true.
Hmm.
Yeah. I like that Sully starts out as a bootlicker and then
It
goes,
gets radicalized.
yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
This is I said twist villain plot. They've done it perfectly because
Hmm.
you have the obvious villain Randall, but then you have Mr. Waternoose, and then you have twist good guy who's Roz, who you thought I didn't even know she was in this movie. But Mr. Waternoose, because and we can talk about the twist villain thing later, but Pixar has always done that really well. They
Hmm.
used to do it
Hmm.
really well anyway. Um um Randall told me I'm not allowed to fraternize with victims of his evil plot. Funny. That's really good.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
what a character.
he-
That little guy. He's such a doormat, you know?
he's so good. He's just like I love that the scarers are all given just like a little sidekick guy.
Yeah.
That's so funny, and that
That's good. They're like,
Randall somehow ropes this guy into
we recognize the importance of the buddy system, so everyone has to have an exit
that's
buddy. It's so
their
good.
missionary companion. You have to live with this person apparently, unless that's not a requirement, and these two just do it
I
because
think
they're
Sully and
really
Mike
weirdly
just do it
dedicated to their jobs.
because they're friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I liked that the plot of the movie is mostly driven forward by the fact that yes, this is a human creature, but also it's just a kid, and these two idiots don't know how to take care of children.
Yeah, yeah. I
Like
mean, it's
they're incompetent.
the classic comedy setup of like two bachelors are now fathers.
Yes, suddenly, abruptly, without warning,
Yes.
and then without in any intention to, they accidentally fall desperately in fatherly love for this child and will like, oh, okay, well, now I would kill myself for this thing, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
over the course of like 40 minutes.
They
That's
allow
and
themselves to be exiled to the Himalayas
that's another thing I
because
wrote
they're
down.
sticking to their guts. The Abominable Snowman is such a good character. And yeah, that's
So
another thing, like,
good.
growing up, he was like, everyone would kind of try to quote him or, he's
I
just
have
funny.
snow
Oh, no, 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 don't
cones.
worry. It's lemon. Funny.
Shut up. Shut up. A snow cone, the concept of him making snow cones at all in the Himalayas, so funny. The concept
Hmm.
of there are monsters in this world because they got banished from this world for not being good enough at their jobs.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
that's
abominable
hilarious.
snowman is just some guy who got fired. That's so funny. My buddy
Mhm.
Bigfoot made a diaper out of poison ivy leaves, wore it around on his head, and called
Called
himself King
himself King
Itchy.
Itchy.
You guys are gonna do better than that, though.
Yeah, at least can you imagine banished with your best friend? It's like, twist the knife in a little deeper, why don't you? It's so funny.
Yes. And he's so excited to have
What a
like buddies
character.
there.
I love
Also,
that he has
presumably, they just leave him there.
his little like oven mittens that he also wears on his like horns and feet and whatever. That's really good. And where does he get lemon flavoring? That's my question. No, 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 don't worry, it's lemon, but like he's a Yeti. Like you don't understand. Is he going down into town like tinkering around and then that's like when people have sightings of the abominable snowman?
He's just on a grocery run. He's the funniest character in this movie.
So good.
He's so good. He's got
Hmm.
like three lines. Plus the fact that he's voiced by the guy that Pixar just has in every movie. That's good.
Yeah, it's good to just have a staple guy.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the same thing that we were talking about earlier where like even these kind of like minor characters could so easily just have like one personality trait and the plot would still go forward and it would still be funny and whatever, but like He feels like a real guy. He's like, oh yeah, he's been living in a cave by himself, and maybe he's a little crazy. He's
Yeah.
just isolated, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, wow, you guys have it so lucky to be banished together. Like, if only that had been me. Bigfoot lives in North America. Like, you know?
Yeah. And like, also, how does he know that Bigfoot called himself King H for that long? Do they have like cell phones? Are they texting each other? Are they FaceTiming?
Right. He's like, oh, I miss you. I don't know. Yeah, it's like, is he making it up? Or like, does he actually know that somehow? Or yeah,
Was one
we'll
banished
never know.
before the other and they were able to like I don't know. There are so many questions in the best way because you just feel the richness of the story that it's like I feel like we just didn't, not that the world was created just for this story, but that this is a world that's already just existing on itself and we just get a little snapshot of it, you know? Like
Hmm.
there's so much more depth there. Same with all the characters. Like you said, all the
Yeah.
side characters, I feel like I could have a movie just on the Abominable Snowman and that would be enough,
Hmm.
you know, because he's just already a full guy on his own. That's good.
Agreed.
Um, my last two things are none of it matters now in that little like vulnerable moment.
Oh,
How he says
none of
he's
it
meaning something
matters.
different, but Mike hears something different.
Hmm.
Phenomenal, really good. Um, little girls are weird. This movie gets that. And the bloopers at the end.
Yes, I was gonna say earlier, you were talking about how you can tell when something is made by people who genuinely like what they're doing and think that these jokes are really funny and are trying to like
Yeah,
show them in the best way possible. Like I feel like that really shows in the bloopers, like to take the
yeah.
time to be like, yeah, these are real characters. Like they really live and they trip and fall over and they have to redo the scenes, you know.
Yeah, that we've got Roz in the closet. He's like, there's no monster in the closet. And then Roz is like, ah.
And they're like,
And everyone
ah,
laughs. Roz,
all the
come
goofs and
on.
gaffs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have like the reality of the story. It feels so real. And then you have, oh, Mr. Water, he's not actually out to get you. He's just a guy. It's
Yeah,
fine.
he's acting, you know.
He's acting. It's
It's just like any
okay.
movie that you watch and you're like, this is so real. This actually happened to me.
Yeah.
And then it's not like it's
Yeah.
just some guys. And they
Yeah.
are just like messing around in between takes and you know,
Yeah.
that's
That's,
life.
I
It's like
mean,
very human, even though they are monsters who are afraid of humans until they realize the good of laughter. Which
yeah.
is such a cute plot point too, because it's so true, like spending any time with kids and you know that like a genuine laugh when they're like screaming, like laughing so hard is like,
And
yeah,
comes from the belly.
it is like
Like
the
you
most
hear the
energizing thing in the world. That could power a nation. Sure. Like,
absolutely, I
yeah.
believe that. I have um we're getting there. I'm
Okay.
circling. Ah, Mike. Okay.
Like,
Um I like that he's like a genuinely funny person who says really funny things, but he's doomed to a life of physical comedy.
yeah, like it's not his fault.
These are the jokes, kid. But she
Yeah.
only laughs when he does
These are the
something to hurt
jokes,
himself.
kid. Yeah. And she laughs so hard and they're like, do it again. And he's like, I
Cheating.
can't.
The thing at the end where he's like, I was the fastest one out there. Dodgeball. Of course, I was the ball.
But you know,
Cricket.
I was the ball. Okay.
And
He gives
he's
up, swallows the microphone,
fine.
burps it back out.
Burps.
That's the funniest thing in the
Kids
world. Yeah. Yeah. I
loses his
love like
mind.
the like cleverness that's just so unappreciated.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing too of like how he's always on the cover of stuff, but because he's so small compared to Sully, always like the sticker is on his
It's
face. Like
covered
it's
him.
kind of the same thing where it's like he has a lot of merit, but yeah, doomed to a life of physical comedy. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love him. He's so funny. And we don't have to get into it a lot today, but I don't like the sequel for several reasons, but mostly because they fundamentally misunderstood the two characters.
Yeah.
Because Mike is self-absorbed and lazy
Hmm.
fundamentally. That's
Hmm.
who he is. He's just kind of always been that way. And I do not agree that he was a hard worker and studied really hard and was ambitious in college. I don't believe that. Not for a
No, that doesn't
second.
make any sense because he was just like, oh, what? Like it's hard? Like I think that was his vibe. He's
Yeah.
not studying, he's just going to the exam days and like getting 100%.
Yes.
He's not turning in
Absolutely.
his homework.
Like, if anything, the two characters' roles should have been reversed in Monsters Inc.
Yeah,
Because,
definitely. Sully's a
like, if anything,
tryhard.
Exactly. And he's so humble about it too. He's like, man, it's no big deal. And like, if anything, it's Sully who accidentally stumbled his way into success and is like surprised and like, oh, I mean, like I'm good at my job, but it's, it's a team effort. It's all of these things, he's not blowing it out of proportion. Whereas Mike, he's like, his face is covered on the TV for his entire appearance, but he's still like,
I was
the
on
camera
TV.
loves me. I'm
Yeah.
on TV. It's your mom
I
I'm
can't
talking to, by the
believe
way.
it.
Like,
I'm on the
I'm on the
cover of
cover of a
a
magazine.
magazine.
Like, he's the one who is like riding the coattails of someone else's success, but
Yep.
firmly believes that it's his own success. And that's fine.
Yeah,
He didn't
that's
need,
great.
like,
It also
I
like
just,
I don't know, there's like a few I feel like it kind of like is rearranging the story of like how they know each other,
yeah,
which is
you've
like
been jealous of me
fine.
since the fourth grade, pal.
Yeah, but it's like they shouldn't have met in college. Like they should have met in grade school
Because
because
they
that's what
have
they
that
said
vibe
in
of,
the first movie. Yeah, they have that vibe of just
yeah,
like
we've
honestly,
literally
like
known each other
if
forever.
they met now or even if they met in college, they wouldn't have been friends, right?
Yeah.
Like they have the vibe of like they're inseparable because they've always been together.
Yeah, even though they shouldn't necessarily work together,
Hmm.
like function together because they're opposites. They are polar opposites, but they do because of that.
Yeah.
Like they've just never been apart.
Hmm.
I think if
There's
anything, they
only
should have done a sequel. I don't think they should have done it, but I think if they
if
were
they were
set
gonna
on
do anything, it
making,
should have been a sequel, not a prequel.
it
I
should have been a
agree.
sequel
Yeah.
because they have the same vibe of like Han and
Lando.
thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, of
They
we don't know
absolutely do.
exactly how they met, but we're not like it's
Nobody needs
more
to know.
fun
You
if
just
you
have to
don't
know, like,
know.
yeah, they're just old friends. They've had falling outs. They've had reconciliations. Nobody
Yeah,
knows. Let's see
because
them get
no,
into some hijinks.
exactly, no matter how you try to define it, it's going to disappoint people
Hmm.
because the story that you've created in your head for their past is way more entertaining than the reality of it could ever be. So make a sequel. See, like, let's watch their hijinks of how they try to figure out this new system of laughter, or maybe Boo's grown up a little bit, or maybe they have another kid that's like found their way into the situation somehow. I
Hmm.
don't know
Hmm.
because it's not my job.
Yeah,
It
like you
should
don't
be
have to know. It just,
because,
you know, and it
like,
shouldn't have happened in, like, again, it's just such an unnecessary, like, oh, this movie is really beloved and successful. Let's make another one. Instead
yeah,
of this movie is really beloved and successful because it tells an interesting story, because it's funny, because it has like depth or, whatever XYZ reasons. So let's
yeah,
make a movie that's like that, you know?
yeah,
Always just
yeah,
always just missing the mark a little bit.
yeah.
Um,
Like
yeah.
you
The
can't fund
only thing that I remember
hmm,
liking about Monsters University is that there's one character, like the headmaster or something, who's like just so austere. Like, do you remember her?
I do. She
There
like
was
genuinely
a
terrifying.
band director at the university who retired recently, but she's been there forever and she looked just like that, like the human version of that where she's like tall and slim and like elegant and
Regal.
yeah, dignified and regal. Yeah. My friend Megan was telling a story the other day about they had like a concert where they played this one piece and the conductor rode around the stage on a tricycle for part of it. And with any other band director in the world, you'd be like, yeah, I could see that because that's the vibe of band directors. But imagine the austere, regal, like level-headed headmaster for Monsters University riding around the stage on a tricycle, and you're like, huh?
Feels like a fever dream.
What? Like she's the last person in the world for that to happen. So I'm grateful for
That's
the movie
weird.
because now I have a really good way to describe that director. She's
Yeah, because
lovely.
that
Like she's totally
I
charming. Her personality is not this, really the same,
uh-huh.
except that she's just like very like straight cut, you know?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that got the image across better than just about anything else you could have used.
Yeah.
I
It's true.
see her.
Hmm. And yes, that's what she looks like. She's got the short hair, turtleneck, blazer. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The bat wings. Yeah. That's something I appreciated about that movie is that we could see designs for other monsters and the animation had progressed to the point where they could actually implement them, visually to make them look good.
Hmm.
That's it though. I just think
Yeah, it's just when it's fine, but it didn't have to be made. It's kind of like Incredibles 2, where you're like, okay, I guess like it's
Yeah.
fun world building, it's fun to see the other characters, but there's not like really a point. There wasn't a need
Yeah.
for it.
I've watched it once. I'm not gonna have to do it again. I don't
Yeah,
need to do it again. As
yeah,
opposed
exactly.
to this like Toy Story where each sequel just gets progressively better.
To a point.
Uh, As
'Cause
far as
there's
I'm
like
concerned,
9 of
there are
them now.
three
But
Toy
yeah.
Story movies.
Yeah. It's like how
If
Jurassic
no,
Park is Jurassic Park and none of the other movies. Toy Story is Toy Story 1, 2, and 3.
yeah,
And
I would argue even
they can
just
keep
two and three.
making, they can keep making 15, 16, who cares? They don't exist.
No.
It's only one to set up 2 and 3.
Yep.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, that's it.
I thought
My
about
pa- my
something else
parents
that
never
I
even bothered buying the first one when I was a kid. We literally just had the second one because they didn't like it, and no one like we didn't like it.
Mhm.
Neil and I didn't like it. It was the second one.
Because your
That's the
favorite one was the
only
second one, of
that's
course.
the only Toy Story movie to me. Sorry,
Yeah.
what were you saying?
I just thought of one more thing that I like in Monsters Inc. that's just funny, which is
Hmm.
like when their stupid cover story for why they're acting so weird is like we're rehearsing a scene for the upcoming company play, which you'd think everyone would have heard of because they work at the same company.
Uh-huh.
But then they just have to like fake it and whatever, and it's like not good. But then one of the like credit scenes is them actually putting on a play, and Mike's mom is there, and it's like that's funny.
That's hysterical.
I
Because you
love the
know
like
Mike jumped
because it's
all
just
over
like
that
a
opportunity.
yeah, it's just a throwaway like panic, make up an excuse. But I
Uh-huh.
love that like later on they're like, no, we should actually have a company play. It's a musical. Like
We could totally do that. Do you remember the tune you used? Let's spin that. Let's see where the melody takes us.
yeah.
That's
Because
so
now
funny.
they have joy in their lives. So that's interesting.
And they're not consumed by corporate greed and they
Hmm.
don't have to spend their entire life slaving away just
Working
for
for
work.
a kind of fuel that is inefficient
Hmm.
because now they have what they actually need that's sustainable and like cruelty free, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, I think, one of the most moving moments. I mean, the whole movie is it's wildly funny, but also has that emotional weight to it that's necessary in a lot of you think of like Inigo Montoya from The Princess Bride. A lot of his lines
Hmm.
are comic relief, but then you get the heft to it.
Yeah.
Um, it's the scene where Sully is like trying frantically to talk to Waternoose, and he's like, "Just listen to me." And Waternoose is like, "Go on, roar!" And he's like, "Whatever." Like, and he goes to do the thing at the demonstration, and it scares Boo so much that she can't even look at him. And then he has that moment where she doesn't trust him anymore.
Hmm.
And then he actually turns and sees
He's like,
himself
I
on the
didn't
screen.
mean it. Like, yeah,
It wasn't real.
yeah.
It's not that deep. It's just fake. It's just pretend. But then he
Hmm.
turns and sees, not to her, that's real. She had a monster in her closet that she did not understand and was terrifying to her.
Yeah,
And she has trusted him. Kitty, that's her like friend, her pal.
yeah.
And then to turn around and see him be a monster is so, I mean, traumatizing. And that he had never even considered it before. That's how she sees me. That's how all of these kids see me. Not as, I mean, I am a monster, but as a monster, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
as something to fear. It's not that it's just my job. It's not that it's for the company. It's what am I doing? And I love that. You know why? Because they're subtle about it. They don't
Hmm.
have him say this out loud. None of this.
Just have to
It's
say,
just
oh, I'm a
the
monster. Like,
quiet
we know.
realization
Yeah.
of you see him see himself, you see him see her face on the screen, and you know,
And he just gets it. Yeah.
yeah, that's art. That's
Hmm.
storytelling.
And
Show
it's
don't
an
tell.
interesting idea of like, because not a lot of times would you get the opportunity to genuinely see yourself through someone else's eyes, right? So
Yeah.
it's like it's a powerful moment for him because he just yeah he has just been like going through the motions. This is his job, and like he's really good at it. It's kind of easy for him, so he just
Yeah.
does what he does. But then yeah, to have that moment of like, oh, the things that I do actually have like real life consequences. and I'm working for this corporation that's so much bigger than just me.
Yeah.
And I have to figure out, like, what do I mean by just me,
Yeah.
Like, that's an important thing, like, not losing his identity in his job,
Yeah.
but like realizing who he wants to be and how he isn't measuring up to that, and like he wants to
Yes.
change it.
And I love that that realization is reflected in that line. None of it matters now, because that's what he means when he says that is, I don't care about the company anymore. I don't care about like the scare record. I don't care about notoriety or ambition or any of that. That's not what I'm doing. I suddenly realize that I'm hurting people. None of the records, none of the notoriety, none of the ambition matters now. It's just I want to make sure that this person that I care about is safe and happy. And, I've been contributing to that fear. What Mike hears is different. He says,
We've
you,
been working so hard together for so long. We live together, we do everything together, and I'm willing to
Mhm.
give that up for somebody that I just met. So he
Yeah,
feels betrayed.
yeah,
Like, how can you say that none of it matters? This is our whole life. This is like everything we've ever worked for. This is like,
mhm.
I mean, he probably met Celia at the company. Like, you know what I mean? This is like his
Yeah.
whole life kind of revolves around this.
And he also hears Celia doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're never going to see her again. I don't care about you
What
or
about
your
me?
relationships, or
Don't I
don't I
matter?
matter?
As
Shut up.
he's walking away.
He won't even look at him. Heartbreaking.
And this is,
It's
if we've said it
shattering.
once, we've said it 1,000 times. It has to have an emotional heart to the story. And they
Mhm.
do, right? You can see there's like several key moments, like where that moment of like betrayal where Sully's walking away, he's gonna go back to the monster world without Mike. And he
Mhm.
says, "What about me? Don't I matter?" And again, like at the end where he's like, "Yeah, it's a lot of wood to go through." And the moment where, yeah, he sees himself in the eyes of Boo and realizes that he's actually terrifying. There's like real,
There's a
like,
lot.
yeah, there's a lot of emotion there, and it's like it would still be fun if it was just like all fun and games and like, oh, what if this happened? And you kind of explore the world, but
Mhm.
exploring the world matters because you care about these people.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And they maintain personality even in those moments of emotional depth, and even in the moments where they are funny, like the first scene where Sully thinks Boo is being crushed in the trash compactor,
Yeah.
and he's, making all these silly goofy faces, and that's really funny for a kid, but
Yeah.
also he didn't think he cared about this kid. And then all of a sudden he was just kind of careless and he let her slip, and he thinks this is his fault, that she's not only dead but also had been hurt in the process.
Yeah.
And like the just shock of he
Yeah.
didn't realize how much he cared, and then from that moment on he's like, I'm not going to let her go again. No, I care about her being
Because
safe.
something
I
could
didn't
happen.
realize that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, or even later in the end after Mike comes
It's such a
back.
funny scene though where he's like despairing, he's sobbing like I can still hear her voice, and Mike's like I can hear it too. How many kids you
How
got
many
in
kids
there?
you got in there?
And she just like met the like daycare kids.
Yes. And she says her name is Mike Wazowski, and all the kids, I've seen kids do this where they hear a funny phrase and then they just parrot it.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Wazowski, Mike Wazowski, Mike Wazowski. They're just chanting it
Why
down
are
the
they
hall, and
saying Mike?
the daycare leader is like, whatever, this is just how kids are, and it's just marching them around the halls. That's
Yeah, it's
so
so good.
funny.
Also,
Um,
it's
hmm,
bring an obscure relative to work day. That's a funny line.
must have missed the memo.
Yeah.
He's the head of the company. He would have sent the memo.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
so good. Oh my gosh. But the scene where Mike comes back from the Himalayas and finds Sully, and he doesn't know, but Sully's being attacked by Randall as he's invisible. Randall sees that Mike doesn't realize he's attacking Sully and continues to attack Sully. Mike is
Mm-hmm.
self-absorbed enough to just be focused on getting his apology out,
Yeah, he's
that
like, why
he,
you're so dramatic? Like, are you even listening to me? And
I
he's
know,
like,
kid,
I'm
he's too
dying.
sensitive. And
Mm-hmm.
Boo's like, he's
No, he's actually dying.
he's being like whipped around and is pinned up against the wall, and Mike is like, listen to me. That's funny because he is self-absorbed.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to do the right thing,
He's
but
trying
he
to make
sometimes
amends,
just
but he
doesn't
just can't
know.
see. Yeah.
Yes. And Sully knows this. He's not going to hold it against him. But I just think it's a funny thing that even in this moment of Mike's trying to do the right thing and make amends and be sincere, but he does it in just the most Mike Wazowski way possible of not noticing the
Totally
obvious
ignoring
violence
the
going
yeah.
on in front of him. That's really good.
Yeah.
I also like that Waternoose's character is consistent from pre-reveal to post-reveal of he's the I talked about this
Like,
briefly,
it's not
but
a
they do the
twist
twist
that doesn't
villain
make any
well.
sense, but it is a twist still
Yes.
because they've been
Yes.
setting up Randall for so long.
Yes. And
And
Randall's
of
he's still
course
a
he's just a
villain.
cog in the machine.
Yeah.
That's the theme of the movie. They all are, right?
Yeah.
It's so good.
I for the good of the company, I'll
Mhm.
banish my best scarer. I won't let,
I'll kidnap 1,000 children
before I let this company
and I'll
die.
silence anyone who gets in my way. That's chilling.
Not
That's
to mention
scary. Like,
so scary. The line, but also his character design. He's like a crab spider
mhm.
with
But
1,000
he's
legs,
like
and when
made
he's
of
chasing
metal.
them, yeah. But when he's
Yeah.
chasing them down the hall and he turns the corner and he like kind of has
Oh,
go
that's
up on the wall to
so
correct
good.
himself.
You just know they're
And
having the time of their lives. Like when that was all animated and they could watch it back, they're like, "Oh, I'm a genius. Like this is the coolest thing I've
and
ever done."
they were right.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's such a scary concept for a villain, like the design, but the execution of it, of he is capitalism, he is the company, and he will, he has no line that he's not willing to cross. But that doesn't mean that he's doesn't have morals and values. He's just
Mhm.
lost in them. Like he's twice as scary than you ever were to Randall, the villain that
Mhm.
he's been working with.
Mhm.
But he believes it, he really doesn't, he really likes Sully. He doesn't want to banish them. It's
Yeah.
just you got in the way. That's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that he'll stick to his guns, he'll stick to his morals. It's just that he's wrong. So you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh." This is
Yeah.
almost like Bahubali. Where everyone has such a distinct moral code and they're not going to give it up even when they're just wrong.
Every single story is Hamlet, and every single story is also Bahubali.
hmm That's true. And that's another thing that if we've said it once, we've said it 100 times. Like, so genuinely, that is true.
Yeah, yeah. It's not even a joke. We mean it.
hmm
Yeah. I think that the twist villain thing, Pixar has always done it really, really well. I think even in Toy Story 3, where the trope had gotten more popular and it was more like more of a common thing, that's even a really good way to do it. I think that when Disney started trying to adopt that and copy that idea, it just started going downhill because you think, like in The Incredibles, the twist villain is, there's a villain, you just don't know who it is. And when his identity is revealed, it all makes sense because that's Syndrome. That's the kid from the beginning, and it all ties
hmm
together. This is different in that we see the character, we know him, we trust him because Sully trusts him. And the company, he's going to do everything for the good of the company. And to Sully, that means the good of the company, which means the good
The good of
of
the workers.
the good of the people that work here.
Yeah.
He knows them all by name. He knows Betty and, Celia. He doesn't let it go to his head, the fame of, I'm not bigger than, not above all this. I'm a part of this. We're all working together. We're all doing the same thing. The good of the
He's a
company
real, like, he's a
equals
guy's guy. He's so
he
popular. Like, it's not
is.
like, oh, he's so good and he's annoying about it. That's Randall.
That's Randall. Yeah.
He's so good because he's just like, this kind of comes naturally for me, and I'm having a good time. This is a positive workplace environment. Like,
Yeah. And also, he's working for a good cause. He genuinely cares about the scream shortage. He won't let Mike drive to work because there's a scream shortage. We're not
yeah.
going to be contributing to that. We're going to help. He
He's an
genuinely cares about it.
environmentalist. Yeah.
Yeah. He just doesn't realize that the company that he's working for is, contributing to that. But, well, maybe not intentionally contributing to that, but you know what I mean. They're certainly not helping. So
Yeah.
he makes the changes because he does genuinely care about the scream shortage. And I want people to have power and I want people to have a good life. in and out of work, and also the people that we are exploiting currently for these other things, because I hadn't realized how much it impacted them. Like, it all makes sense because that's just who he is. He does care about the individual. So when he starts to see Boo as an individual, he cares about her. Also, he named her Boo. That's just like, that's so freaking
because
cute.
it's just such a cute like pet name, right? But then also because it's like kind of scary. Like,
Yeah.
she's the only other scary named person in the whole movie besides
Flem.
my friends
Mr.
call me
Bile.
Flem. Mr. Bile,
Yeah.
can you tell me where you went wrong? Also, I think we only briefly mentioned this. You talked about the but like the code 2319, and they have to
Yeah.
pull that like bar the windows and they come in like out of nowhere. I mean, that's so funny because you're
Really
like how
good.
serious it is that they like genuinely think that children are like poison.
Yeah. It's they have a full thing about it.
An entire government agency dedicated to
Mhm.
making sure no one is contaminated.
Yeah.
That's just good.
And come to find out that the entire, like, working behind the scenes, Roz has been
Yeah.
number one
She's
at the
such a
CDA.
perfect person to be an undercover agent.
She
It's
absolutely is.
hilarious.
And that's why she's so concerned about Mike doing his paperwork, right? Because she needs a paper trail. She needs to see how the inner workings of the company actually run. Like, yeah, she's going to be anal about the paperwork because this is literally her job and this guy's going to screw it up. And then she realizes that someone took the kid. Oh, is Mike and Sully? Yeah. Why does that not freaking surprise me? Because of course it's going to be this idiot.
Yeah. It's like they can't do anything right. Like, I'm trying so hard to break this company down from the inside.
Yeah.
And the one person who's in my way is like, it's because he's incompetent at this company. Like that I'm trying, like, he's also gonna take it down from the inside, but in like an opposite way where he just like didn't even know
Completely
that.
accidentally.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really good. Um, something to the phlegm Mr. Bile. I don't think we've really appreciated his introduction. Because we know it's monsters, we know it's a movie about monsters. I don't remember ever seeing a trailer. I just remember like watching the movie. So from someone who doesn't know anything about the movie, you go into it and you think, okay, this is about monsters and doors and scaring people. Okay. So the first scene is a monster coming in, being spooky and sneaky. This kid, you think we're gonna be on his side, maybe. And then and then the monster goes, way more scared, bounces, lands on like the ball out of nowhere, hits him in the head, knocks him into a pile of jacks. He's screaming bloody murder. He's in so much pain. And then it's a simulation, huh? Then the wall lifts up and everyone's observing him and writing notes on how he sucks.
So good.
That's so good. Within
That's
5 minutes, it tells you
hilarious.
everything you need to know about the
Mr.
movie.
Bile, can you tell me where you went wrong? And he's like,
I fell
"You
down.
fell down." No, 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 before that.
Can anybody
It's
tell
right
me
at the
where
beginning.
Mr. Biles' big mistake? I love that guy. The cough.
Yeah. Like we've all been in that meeting where nobody wants to answer a question, but it's dead quiet and somebody's like,
Yeah. And it's that same situation of like painted because he has no idea where she's getting at.
yeah.
But he's just trying to
The door.
I fell down.
You left the door wide open. Can anyone tell me why this is a mistake?
Because it could let in a draft. It could let in a child. And then Waternoose introduction.
It's so funny. That's such a good like opening for him. You can see like I hate children right off the bat. Like,
yeah. And I'm
that's his
so in
thing.
charge.
And
And I care
it
enough
could
about
let in a
this.
draft. Yeah, it's like painted.
Shut up, Vile. I love him. And also the fact that that scene where we see it's objectively funny, but in the context of he's trying to scare this kid and he just embarrassed himself. So he just looks stupid. But then at the end, we see him coming out of the door with a child wailing, just hysterically, so funny. And he has the ball and he's got the jacks in his hand
Like
and he's
picking
so
it.
satisfied.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah,
So good. He's like,
I
I'm a
found my
natural.
niche.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he is, because that's hysterical. But in the like, it's just got to be reframed.
Hmm.
If you're trying to scare someone, not very efficient. But if you go into it, and I
And
love
you're just
too,
trying to get a reaction.
yes, that's gonna be what happens.
Yeah.
Because in the beginning, we think, oh, that's stupid because the kid is fake. It's a simulated kid. They don't know that that would be funny to a kid. They're not even gonna program in laughter. They'd care about
Right.
screaming. So
They
they're
wouldn't
gonna
know.
measure,
Yeah.
is that scary? It's not scary. It's funny. But that doesn't come across in the simulation.
Because
It
they've
comes
never
across in the
interacted with
real,
a child.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
you think about a kid seeing that in real life, of course it's gonna be funny. That's ridiculous. It's stupid. And so I love that it makes sense at the beginning for it to not go over well. And then I love that we get to see him being happy and successful and fulfilled later,
Yeah.
like just for a split second.
Good for him.
Good for you, Flem. We
Hmm.
love you.
Hmm.
Biggest, like, big Flem fans here. I've always been a
I'll
Flem
say.
head. What can I say?
The design, like the bare bones concepts of like a scream canister. That's awesome.
Hmm.
That's cool. That was somebody's good idea that turned into a really good movie, you know?
Yeah. I mean, everyone who worked on this movie,
Mhm.
you knocked it out of the park. Whatever you were paid, whatever you were compensated, it was not enough. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna perfect movie stamp. Whitney's perfect movie stamp. We've done it. You, congratulations, Monsters Inc. Finally, you've
I know you've
achieved.
been waiting for years. Oh, when am I going to get that stamp of approval? You got it
There we go.
right here. It's today.
Yeah, mark the date. Yeah. I love everything about this movie. I love the casting. I love the character design. It's so funny. It's so serious. It makes me cry. It makes me laugh.
Mhm.
It does everything perfectly. The plot moves along fast enough that you never feel bored, but it also doesn't. You have enough, like, looking at it on paper, it should be too much, right? Like, they find a kid, the kid escapes. We have to put the kid back, but then we
While we're
are
trying to
almost
find the
killed,
kid,
and then we
we
have to find
accidentally uncover this like huge
and
conspiracy.
yeah.
Like,
And then
yeah.
we get banished, but then that's only temporary. We
But
get
it's
back right
okay
away
because there's a way to go back to the monster world, which is through any closet.
immediately.
And I love that scene where they're like fighting with Randall and they just keep trying to open the doors. And so you see them like pop up all around the world and they're like chasing each
Oh
other
my
around.
gosh.
Mama, another gator gone in the house. I mean,
Give me that shovel. Get him on. Get that gator. Get that gator. That's funny.
so good. So good.
Hysterical. Yeah. Um, Steve Buscemi, my love, my life.
Hmm.
He is perfect in everything he's ever been in. I love him so much. Actually, you know what? I think if we're gonna have a friend celebrity guest star, it should be Steve.
It should actually, that would make a
Yeah.
lot of sense for our
Yeah.
brand.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like what my friend Penny did my freshman year of college when she's like, oh yeah, my family friend Steve, and then showed me a picture of Steve Carell
Hmm.
at her family barbecue. Like, it's no big
Yes.
deal.
I think about that pretty regularly.
Yeah, me too. It's still really weird to me.
Yeah.
This is, I mean, it's not entirely related, but it's ten. Okay, so what we were talking about earlier, how David Tennant is the Shakespearean actor.
Hmm.
Um, I think Steve Carell is also, like, in my head, he's one of the actors of all time because he has a similar metal that David Tennant has in that he has no concept of dignity.
Mm.
Like, David
Hmm.
Tennant, you want me to cover my face in paint? Absolutely. You want me to voice a cartoon duck? Hell yeah, I'm already there. Like,
Hmm.
he they both take every role so seriously, but not in a way that's insufferable. It's, I'm going to approach this with the exact energy that I would approach any other role. And so it becomes meaningful and serious because they approach it with that energy.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying?
I
Do you
do.
get it?
It's like how, because they're like actors, right? And that's their
Mm-hmm.
job and something that they love.
Yeah.
So, like, whatever the character is, they're going to commit to that character. But this is
Yeah.
why people have the conversation about finding like method annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Just because a lot of the time, like, at least the people that you hear about who are doing it are like insufferable.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah.
know? Like, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna think more about my character's motivations and start to, you know, adopt some of their like physicality.
Right.
Right? It's like I'm gonna mail dead animals to my coworkers and freak them out or something, you know? And it's like, why are you only a
Yeah,
method actor when you're
funny bit.
playing an asshole instead
Yeah.
of just like being a good person to work with because you take the job seriously and you're like a good person to be around and you like treat your coworkers with respect. You know?
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
That you
I think
don't
that's the
take the
difference. Like
advantage of
being,
the like being a nice actor, being a nice character, and so you act like a nice person and give everybody gifts.
mhm.
Interesting that you're only taking advantage of being the asshole character. Like, yeah, it says a lot about you.
Yeah, you're like, I really want to get into character. And it's like, why? Like, you're an actor. Pretend.
Yeah. Or if you're gonna
Like,
be
it
weird
doesn't
about
have
it,
to consume you.
be Ryan
You're
Gosling
just
being
going into
Ken.
work. Yeah.
He was weird as hell about that. But also Ken's a really nice person. So
Hmm.
he's like, yeah, I can lean into this. I can be weird because Ken is nice. He's never gonna be a jackass for the excuse of being like for this just for the sake of it, you know?
Right, right, right. Oh, I finally get to play a mean character, so I can,
Yeah.
I'll do
No.
method this time. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the issue. Like, if you're actually good at it, you can just
You
be
shouldn't need
normal.
to,
Like,
yeah.
just have your normal everyday life and interact with people in a respectful way and then go to work.
Mm-hmm.
They call action, you're acting.
Yeah.
They call
Nothing is
cut,
below you.
you're Steve Carell again, you know?
Yeah.
You're good.
Or you're Michael Sheen in Twilight.
Mhm.
I forget he was in those movies. That's Michael Sheen.
Yeah, it
That's like a
is.
serious actor, and he was in Twilight, and
Mhm.
he did it seriously.
Of
I have
course,
so
because
much
that's his
respect for him for
job.
that because that's his job. He's
Yeah.
like the head of the Volturi. Don't say. Michael Sheen, you're my hero. Everyone else hated being in those movies. Like, fair enough. Robert
Yeah.
Pattinson didn't want to be there. Whatever.
And
Michael
that's
Sheen,
fine, you know?
yeah. They
But
both
he's just
have
like,
just,
I accepted the role, so it's my role, you know?
and I'm gonna body it. And he did. That's like, whatever, you know?
Whatever.
Monsters Inc. is really good. I
It's
love it.
really good. I've been trying to think I feel like we've really covered the important things, which is like every funny line that we could remember, and
Just a lot of
also
the movie.
there is a point, you know, there's several themes you can pick up on,
Hmm.
and there's emotional depth, there's a heart to it, and
Yep.
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like
Absolutely. Funny
that's
for
it in a
kids,
nutshell, you know?
but I mean, it's
Funny for
similar to
kids, funny for
Incredibles.
grown-ups.
Exactly.
In kind of the same way where they're like making like
Yeah.
office humor, you know? Like it's
Yeah.
not like a dirty joke that only grown-ups will get. It's just like
Because that's lazy.
he
It's
works at
easy.
an insurance company, right?
Like
Or
your
in this
mom.
case, it's like he nice.
Sorry.
Like
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
He works at an office. He's standing by the coffee. You know, he's taking a coffee break with his boss.
Hmm.
But the coffee is just like hot tar.
Yeah, it's just like sludge, and he's like, well, better than nothing, I guess.
Funny.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
good.
Perfect. I mean, I- we've talked a lot about DreamWorks being a good mirror, like a good foil for Disney, but early Pixar
Early Pixar was as well. They kind
really,
of
yeah,
sold out, unfortunately, but hasn't everyone at this point?
not DreamWorks yet.
Not DreamWorks, because well, that's their whole thing is like being anti-Disney. So
Yeah. They'll they'll die before they let this company sell 1,000 children
yeah,
for success. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Uh DreamWorks, you're my hero. Early Pixar, you're my hero. John Goodman, we love you. If you could come to my wedding and say the word spoons. Um,
it would bring down the house. I mean, you'd be the star of the show, and please do it.
pretty please.
I'm trying to
Steve, we'll
remember
see you
who
next
else we've
week.
shouted out. Yeah, Steve, of course, Billy Crystal,
Keanu,
Keanu, Michael Sheen.
Michael Sheen, yeah.
Yep.
David Tennant, um,
Danielle
Ken,
Brooks.
good old
Ken,
friend
Ken.
Ken.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
America Ferrera. I know her.
America Ferrera. By the way, I just learned this year that she was in How to Train Your Dragon because I saw her like I saw it in the credits of her IMDb page when I was looking at the Barbie movie credits. I was like, huh? Huh?
Mhm.
And then I know her and I've been aware of her for a while, but also I was just like, she's in everything. I
Yeah.
just kept scrolling and I was like, she's just so omnipresent. It's ridiculous. And then I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, she's Astrid. That's insane. Huh? Another perfect movie, which we will do an episode on at some point.
Mhm.
Um,
Who doesn't need another spreadsheet? You know?
Okay, so one of my favorite apps right now is Pokemon Sleep. Right now, Pokemon Sleep. It's been a favorite of mine for months. I love it. I'm
You've
obsessed with it
mentioned it on the podcast at least 3 times.
several times because I don't have any social media and I really try hard not to get games that I know I would be addicted to because I like to do other things sometimes.
Mhm.
And so I it's only me and my Pokemon against the world right now. And that's all I've got for me. But someone on Reddit had created a comprehensive Google sheet detailing every single aspect of every single critter in this game. And there's five, I mean, at least 15 different sheets to go through, and each sheet is like 1,000 cells by 1,000 cells. Like it's so huge. And every single day for like 10 minutes, I go through it and I don't care about Pokemon. I need this, like, I don't know if I can. It sounds like I'm
Right,
really
just to be
obsessed with it.
clear, this is the
I
only like the only experience that you've ever had with Pokemon?
Yeah, I think my brother watched the show, so I have watched a couple episodes with him, but I never watched the show. I never collected the cards. I've never cared about it. It is the only experience I've never even seen the one with Detective Pikachu. Never
Uh-huh.
seen it. I don't care about Pokemon. This is not because I'm obsessed with Pokemon. It's just that I love spreadsheets. And I love clicking all the little categories and like, ooh, if I can sort it by this one, and then I can select this one. Like, I don't know. I'm weird about them. That's the point of that, is that everybody loves a good spreadsheet. We should have a spreadsheet.
Yeah, yeah, we should.
Yeah,
Well,
that's all I had.
I think that's all I had. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone in the world.
Yep.
You're all here
Including
celebrating
new
one of the
subscriber.
greatest movies ever made, including new subscriber. Oh yeah,
New
who is
subscriber.
that?
I don't know.
We should start shouting them out because there's so few of them.
Anyway, we love you. Thank you for
Yeah.
subscribing.
We do.
Let us know, drop a comment down below. Let us know what you'd like to see in the future.
And we might do it.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever tried it, so it's hard to say. But you could be the first person to get your movie recommendation to actually be made. There's a comment on our videos that isn't from us on our other accounts.
No.
This is, I mean, this is big
Really
stuff.
big. Yeah. Yeah, we hope to see you again in the future.
Yeah, yeah. Keep coming back, keep recommending stuff, or you can be on the show anytime, pretty much.
Yeah, that's true.
Just send us an email and we'll schedule you in.
It's probably after Steve at some point, but
Yeah.
All right, well, I probably have to go because I have my Ravenous paper that I need to write today.
Oh, yeah. I have
And
some data to analyze and then write a report about. So
you don't sound very excited about it. I take it as not exciting data.
it's not really. It's because it's not like something that I chose. It's just like here's all like everybody has the same thing to analyze and then we all have to
Right.
interpret it however, And
That's
it's for
fine.
my English class that I don't like that's boring.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that I have 102% in. So
Oh,
things
there
could
you
be
go.
worse.
102% because it is boring.
Yeah, because it's so
Yeah,
easy.
it's not
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I have a series of
Yay!
these from July 3rd. It's us talking about what states we would and wouldn't live in forever.
Should I?
And since we did it in the car, it is very like you can tell that we were
Bad.
listening to MGMT.
Also so conservative.
That's
It's an odd.
That's
Might be
kids by
because
MGMT, if I don't know if you can tell from here, but well, yeah, I'll let you leave
okay.
and goodbye.
Love you.
Goodbye.
Bye. my friend Al
conference.
at a writing conference
I
at
guess
a
I know better.
university. My friend Al said that the presenter is using an episode of Supernatural as an example of what to do, not what not to do. Example of good writing. An episode of Supernatural. Again, this is February 17th, 2024.
Hello, can anyone hear
I know
me?
what you did last summer. That's the episode. I'm losing my shit about this. I haven't thought about this show for freaking years. And then in like 1 month, it's like everybody's talking about it again. What's happening?
I don't know.
Can we go back?
I
I don't
think
don't
so,
want to be
but
where I am.
I'm sorry that that's the answer, you know? I wish we could.
Yeah. It's okay.
It's just one of
It's
those, like, for me, it's like, you know, watching a disaster from afar, you know? Like, I'm the next town over on top of the hill, and there's, like, something going on over there. There's some sort of fire. But I'm like, not my problem, you know?
there's sorry for you or happy for you. I'm not reading all
Yeah,
that.
I'm not reading all that. Yeah.
Ooh, how about eerie? Eerie is
Eerie?
another. It's not. I don't know the word that I'm chewing on, but eerie is a word for spooky, and they use scary things in this movie.
That's true. They do.
I just got lost in dictionary.com for a
You
second,
can do
so we can.
extractor for the scream
Extractor. Let's do extractor. Yeah,
Scream technology, extractor,
extractor
monster.
or Mike and Sully.
Mike and Sully.
Mhm.
Both are good.
I'll leave it up to you for your discretion.
Okay.
Real quick, I think the city is called Lakish in the Old Testament. They're talking about one of the many invasions that happened way back when, and they found a tablet that describes this invasion. So there's a city, and they can see Lakish. What is the name of this city? And is it pronounced Lakish? Because that doesn't sound, both
Might
sound
be.
wrong when I say them.
Lakish is like
Kind of like a
maybe
lake,
kinda. Maybe
but
it's a
Lakish
pond.
is like a French word for a quiche.
Lakish. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not gonna even accidentally sound French. Heaven
It
forbid.
could be Lakish. And the thing is, like, a lot of Semitic languages would have like a, you know, you could use any vowel sound and it's not written down, so they're not gonna, like, you just have to guess what vowel sound it was if you're not familiar with the language.
Right. I'm not gonna remember the name of. I'm not gonna remember. I think it's Lakish, like Lakish. I'm gonna sound so freaking stupid. I know about this
You
stuff.
started off so strong with like, oh, there's this thing in the Old Testament that
In the
it's
Old
like
Testament.
so,
Can
yeah,
I make a
scholarly
request
and
that you edit all of this out, that I sound so like cool and sexy and knowledgeable?
you can make the request. Yes.
Will you do it?
It really depends what mood I'm in. Like some
See,
episodes I'm like, this is kind of funny banter, and I just keep it all, and then some I'm like, shut up. Like cutting
No.
every conversation. Like
the one
just depends.
the one where I said, please, can you edit out where I talk about Supernatural? And you said Whitney makes a confession. But then for the rest of the 40 minutes in the episode,
We
we're
still
talking
talked
about
it, so you can still figure out what the confession was, but
yeah, you can
I did my best.
put the pieces together. Yeah. Anyway, in the Old Testament, there's this city, and they found a tablet that was describing the invasion that was slowly creeping across the land. Not slowly, pretty rapidly, but the tablet describes we can no longer see the beacon of this other city. And it's like one of the most chilling historical records I have ever read, because it's like they see it coming and there's nothing they can do about it before they're next. But also that reminded me of your situation right here, that you're like, you got your binoculars and like,
I'm
oh,
like, I don't go here, but seems bad for you.
man, the beacons are no longer lit over there. They're talking about Supernatural at a writing conference. You think they're okay? No.
Poor
Anyway.
Al. Anyway.